Cheryl Murray. Welcome to Midweek Midrash. I'm pastor of Valley View United Methodist Church in Valley View, Texas. This week, I want to go a little further into one of the scriptures we used this Sunday. It is Psalm 66. I'm going to read it now from the Common English Bible translation, starting with verse 8. All the peoples bless our God. Let the sound of his praise be heard. God preserved us among the living. God didn't let our feet slip a bit. But you, God, have tested us. You refined us like fire, trapped us in a net, laid burdens on our backs, let other people run right over our heads. We've been through fire and water, but you brought us out to freedom. So I'll enter your house with entirely burned offerings. I'll keep the promises I made to you, the ones my lips uttered, the ones my mouth spoke when I was in deep trouble. I will offer the best burned offerings to you along with the smoke of sacrificed rams. I will offer both bulls and goats. Come close and listen, all you who honor God. I will tell you what God has done for me. My mouth cried out to God with praise on my tongue. If I had cherished evil in my heart, my Lord would not have listened. But God definitely listened. God heard the sound of my prayer. Bless God. God didn't reject my prayer. God didn't withhold his faithful love for me. This is a great psalm of thanksgiving. You're probably more familiar with the first couple of verses that start with, make a joyful noise to God, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name. Give to him glorious praise. It's a true celebration of the goodness of God at first, a hymn to God's presence and protection. But then in verse 10, it takes kind of a turn. You, O God, have tested us. You have tried us as silver is tried. In the Message translation, it says, God brought us into hard scrabble country, pushed us to our very limit, road tested us inside and out, took us to hell and back. Wait, what? The same God who kept our feet from slipping now tests us? It gets worse. You brought us into the net. You laid burdens on our backs. You let people ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water. Really? Protector God? Nowadays, especially, we can imagine our lives caught up in all those things. We're going through some kind of road test or trial by fire or virus now. We've certainly felt trapped in a net. But how can God be the author of our pain? Is God testing us in this time of coronavirus? What do you envision when you hear these words? What comes to mind when you talk about God testing us? Is it an arbitrary bolt of lightning from above when an old man with a long beard decides on a whim to afflict us with some kind of test? Maybe God just draws our name out of a big hat or rests a glowing finger on a name in the book of life at random. So we might think, well, I guess it's my turn. Maybe I did something to deserve it, or maybe it was random. Either way, it seems like a mean, capricious God who would act this way. What if the psalmist is just reporting on the struggles that have been encountered? Then we would sympathize and see our common humanity. But when you bring God into it, it seems like punishment of some kind. Well, that's not how the psalmist saw it. The psalmist was simply providing a list of events, hardships encountered, and the writer's worldview is that nothing happens without God having a part in it. It isn't written with a sense of frustration or anger. It's just a list of occurrences with a note that God is a part of it. So there's no contradiction in the mind of the psalmist who speaks of God who doesn't let our feet slip at the same time as God who brings us into the net. We would say stuff happens with the same frame of mind that the psalmist says God sent stuff. The answer is yes, it is a test, not just stuff. It's not a test, though, for God to see whether we will be faithful, but a test so that we can see whether we will be faithful. Let me say that again. a test so that we can see whether we will be faithful. God already knows our hearts. God doesn't need the test. We do. God isn't examining us, but giving us an opportunity to rise to the occasion as people of God, responding to the situation as if we belong to God. We often talk about tests as difficulties we have to struggle through, and plenty of those come our way all the time. It's part of life, it's part of being human. These can be seen as a test of our faith. But we need to include as well the good things on the list. What if a friend called us up to say, I just got a promotion, or I have a grandbaby on the way, or my son is valedictorian? And we responded by saying, I'll be right there, or I'll pray for you. The good things that happen to us are just as much a test of our faith as the bad things. Will we continue to honor God in this time of good luck? Will we be humble when the applause comes? Life itself is a test of faith. What we should ask ourselves and each other is not, has anything happened in your life? Because things always happen for good or for bad. The question we should ask is, where have you seen God at work in and through you? Psalm 66 continues to say, I will come into your house with burnt offerings. In other words, the writer is going to worship God, give God thanks and praise and glory, no matter what happens in life. He says, come and hear and listen, all believers. Let me tell you what God has done for me. God has brought the psalmist to this well-watered place. And how good that water must have tasted after being pushed to the limit in the hard scrabble country. For us believers, worship is like that water, refreshing and life-giving. Now, our worship lately has been anything but predictable. And I'll talk about what God may be doing along those lines in our weekend worship this Sunday when we celebrate Ascension Day, one of my favorites in the church year. So watch for the link. I'll post it on our Facebook page and I'll drop it on our YouTube channel. In the meantime, pray a psalm like this one, Psalm 66. Read it and meditate upon it. It can be like drinking refreshing water from a well-watered place. Take care and stay safe. I'm praying for you.